It's a revolution. It's a red carpet. It's a revolution. It's a red carpet.
Hey, this is GR90 and I'm doing a gameplay review for a Skirmish match for Destiny. So I'm going to get started right away here. We're going to basically just do a walkthrough of the gameplay of the match that was submitted to me here. And we'll give commentary as we go on things that maybe could have been improved on or things that I really liked that way he did it. So this first match that we're going to look at is Last Exit. The loadout he chose to use for this map was sidearm and hand cannon. So we'll see what he decides to do with that here.
Alpha team. Goddamn right, Alpha team.
So the first move here,
Alright.
his opening gambit is that he goes to this little door. Going into tunnel, I think it's a great choice. Going into tunnel here, since he's playing close range weapons, that would be the best places to opposed to going to sniper lanes or 50-50s, not peeking 50-50s here. At this point here, he hasn't, oh, he kind of glitched there. But back at the point that we just finished watching, he hadn't seen anybody on his radar. If we go back to this point here, and we notice that his partner went to the left side, or one of his partners anyway, and he went straight through. There's nobody on his radar, and he went really slowly through that room. And when we catch up to his camera down here, we can see that his partner, or his blueberry on his team, has already engaged the enemy. Him and the one in his fire team are at the top of stairs here. They have no angles to support. Yes, they pinched off the enemy here, which is good, but I would have liked to have seen them push down the stairs more. He did throw a grenade here, trying to get it down, but it did catch the glass. So that's not going to be very effective. It might have been effective to cover an escape, but once again, there's two of them up here. Nobody's going to be running up this stairway. But they did leave their teammate to fight the battle himself down there. So he kind of does push down here, but he turns back obviously because there's no enemies at that point anymore. Their teammate did take the victory there, but there was potential for him to have traded or lost when he did have support really close by.
Yeah, coming in double door.
So the enemies kind of, they've got eyes. Once again here, we can see his blueberry, his teammate, is actively pushing for the enemy, which is something that I would have liked to have seen him do a little bit more of in this gameplay. He plays pretty passively, him and his partner. So these are the two that have callouts with each other, and their blueberry they do not have communication with. Their blueberry is already in a gunfight. He's critical health. So they're about to push in through here, and we'll see how they handle this engagement. So he's got radar. His blueberry had low health. He has radar. He's hesitating going through this door. With map awareness, we know that you can't have angles from this doorway, and the chances of his blueberry being in a fight and somebody being hard scoping this door, I'd say, is pretty slim. So he probably should have pushed through this door quite a bit quicker instead of hesitating here in order to be a supportive player to his teammate there. And as we can see, his teammate does die, and it's a 1v1 here. So that's a good clean kill. One thing I did notice throughout this video, and I'll point on it now and we'll kind of see it as we go, is the use of a smoke grenade here. Smoke grenades are a very, very powerful tool for Night Stalker. It's one of their best abilities. So I like to see those translate into something. If he were to have primed this engagement, he didn't really need to, because he kind of caught his opponent off guard. Because his opponent probably wasn't paying attention to his radar all that much, but he jumped straight over the train instead of attacking or approaching from cover. So if his opponent had have known he was coming by paying attention to his radar, he would have been an easy kill when he jumped up there, because he just basically just sidearm fired him. So it would have been a gunfight, possibly a trade. He had his partner with him, so I think they would have been fine anyway. But if this was a 1v1 engagement, I would have liked to have seen him prime with his grenade, with his smoke, instead of trying to finish with it, in order to lead into engagement where his opponent would have been disoriented and already damaged and taking extra damage from that part of the map that he closes off with it. Either way, it translates into a kill, so I'm happy for that, but I think there could have been a slightly better approach to that. So now they're pushing back here. He walks and he sees on his radar that there's red here. This doorway is one of the biggest choke points in this map, and he walks straight through the door. With where the red is, we can tell that they're just on the other side of this berm here. It would have been very easy for one of them to have set up a perch there and sniped him as he walked through the door. Doorways like these, especially on this map, I would say require you to jump or slide through them to avoid having your head at head height for anybody that might be hard scoping that engagement. So this engagement here, we'll notice one of the things that I am letting him know to work on is grenade use. This grenade went and landed, and I think a lot of his grenades throughout this gameplay will land quite a bit low, so trying to throw them higher to make sure he gets them on the walls would be super advantageous to an improvement. When this grenade throws, it ends up in front of the pillar. I would have liked to have seen it go on one of the back walls, which would have closed off the alleyways through this tunnel. There's one person on the left and there's one person on the right, so getting it on that back left corner would have been perfect, because it would have blocked off and likely killed the one on the right, and it would have set the one on the left cut off from any of his allies or support. He would have had the option of standing in the grenade and dying, pushing back down the tunnel, giving these two control of the tunnel, or he would have pushed off to the left side, which breaks off the engagement and allows them to push in and continue to cut him off from the revive. So once again, just making sure you're throwing your grenades properly so that they land on the walls, especially if you're using spike grenades. If he had been using void wall grenades, at which point this might have been a better engagement, and maybe those would be better for that type of playstyle. But I think practicing up with the spike grenades would make that a super successful engagement. But the void walls would have gone across the ground and probably nabbed both of them, making for easier kills. I also noticed on this engagement, they're both very hesitant to push through this doorway. They kind of stand in it. If that guy was holding a sniper, and if he was a proficient sniper, they probably both would have been dead, because this is a very slow push, not very aggressive at all. There's a lot of back and forth primary fire, a lot of peeking in the same place.
Sniper.
And
Right
it was,
by his buddy.
and
Yeah.
just like that, is there was a sniper
The
and he
other
did get
teammates
picked
got
off from it.
Alright, res me.
They also had a teammate in there, so I would have liked to have seen them both more aggressively push into that doorway. Maybe not both at the same time in order to avoid grenade spam, but at least get them in there, get them sliding into the engagement to put a little bit more pressure on the opponent, and would have allowed for a more successful pinch from the opponent that they did have in there as well. Nice little song he sings to his opponent as he revives. I like it.
Topside cafe.
Coming into this head glitch right here is a beautiful spot. That is also right there. I'm going to give credit to that. That is probably the best grenade throw, or one of the best grenade throws he has in this game. He has a Guardian down. He's got two people on the radar. So he sees one is in cafe and one he just saw run out that door. Throwing this smoke out there doesn't necessarily do any damage to the guy back there, because he's able to back off and recover his health. But what it does do is stops him from pushing in and controlling this zone area. What they want to work for here is getting this 2v1 situation and getting this revive, which I believe they're able to do. That being said, though, I will pick on the way he enters this doorway. We'll just pop back here a second. So you can see he kind of just slowly drifts around that corner. When he sees this red on his radar right here, he should be aware of that and should know that this guy is right around this corner, likely camping with a shotgun or a sidearm or something of that nature. That is a very dangerous engagement to push, because if he is camping with a shotgun and if he is semi-proficient with it, that's going to equal a death right there. Potentially a double, because they're both standing in this doorway. When pushing around this corner, they either want to grenade with a spike grenade on this wall to loop back and get some damage and tagging off this other guy, because he does have his spike grenade charged, or slide through this doorway. If one person slides through this doorway, the second person can walk through the doorway, because likely when he sees the guy slide, he's going to move his attention to him. The first guy can slide straight through, be a decoy, the second guy can come out and shoot. They can both turn around and team fire the guy. It's an easy kill. They do get the win. I don't know what that guy was doing. It looked like he was kind of staring and kind of caught off guard. Both of the other two were outside, so then they could play for the res. Unfortunately, the blueberry spawned up again. I don't know if his timer ran out or he just wasn't patient to wait for the res there. They are able to fight both of these guys.
Ah, get him. Nice.
And he's able to play for the res.
Thank you. Oh, yeah.
Now, this was a slightly different choice. So they're kind of at a stalemate. Up in that room, they got the double or even the triple, so people are going to start spawning up. Their blueberry spawned over here. This was a great decision to start pushing this direction, because they just killed 2 in that main lobby area, and spawn trapping would say that the first person that spawned up would be spawning back in this cave. They have 2, they've got numbers advantage, and their blueberry just spawned behind them, so he's going to be able to push towards their direction. They can start the engagements, to start adding pressure and hoping that the opponent team is not going to wait for their people to group up, and they're going to start pushing individual engagements, which they do here.
Special.
So once again, there's a grenade is thrown, and instead of landing it on the back wall, which is where I would have liked to have seen it in this engagement for an easy kill behind him, because he would have had no choice but to back up into it, it lands a little short, and it points straight up instead. Once again, a void wall would have been perfect here for where the grenade was thrown, because it would block that area off and probably be tagging damage on the left as he tried to retreat. But that was just the use of the grenade. Once again, both of them hesitate pretty slowly going through this doorway where their blueberry pushes through quite aggressively. I would have liked to have seen them support him in this push. If they had communication with him, I would have liked to see one of them push out this doorway and the other 2 flank around the side, but he wouldn't be pushing until the other 2 got in position to do so. So since they do not have communication with that guy, they didn't really have much of a choice. They should have been pushing with him. It ended up working out anyway that they get 1 kill here. The guy was hard scoping, he didn't take a shot, so that worked out well that he was able to primary him. I would have liked to see him engage from more cover like that. Normally when you see the sniper glint, you assume that they're going to be able to get a shot off. Even if they get a body, they can one-tap you with a hand cannon pretty quickly. I don't think that guy was using a hand cannon anyway, so it wouldn't have worked out very well, but it still could have been a bad situation. I would have liked to see him engage from cover. He still got the kill, but engaging from cover is always the best choice. And we can see here, since they didn't push off with their blueberry, he got picked. So they're going to be pushing into that engagement to try and play for his orb now. Once again, a slow engagement
down
here.
By the subway.
He does throw smoke, and that is a good use of a smoke because he did see his opponent moving in that direction. If we pause this and we go back there for a second, notice how his partner pushes in right away, but he kind of sits back on this flank with no visibility on the opponent. I would have liked to have seen him move up and turn this situation into a 2v1 rather than 2 individual 1v1s.
By the subway.
Because he's already got fire going, and then the second fire engagement starts after his teammate is dead. He does get the kill, a nice shade step to disorient. It was a good play. I just would have liked to have seen it not turn into a trade engagement where they each team gets 1 death and turned it into a 2v1 for an easy kill.
Cafe.
Once again, their grenade lands a little short, pointing straight up. Would have been a better opportunity for a void wall, but I would have liked to have seen the grenade go up on the glass there.
Tether up top. They're in Cafe 2 up there. There's another one behind the podium. There you go. Got the other guy coming around.
So once again, pushing into this cafe here.
Another one behind the podium.
For a
There you
second
go.
here. When he pushes up with his tether. When he's in this position and tethering, he's already engaging the enemy. We've got no lines of sight here, so we're no good to help out. Yes, you don't want to run up there and get slammed or nova bombed or anything, but the fact that he just threw a tether out there means you're not going to get supered in the doorway. So I would have liked to have seen him push up here instead of waiting until his teammate died before he starts his engagement again.
Tether up top. They're in Cafe 2 up there. There's another one
they might
behind
have
the
been,
podium.
with how weak that guy was, they might have been able to turn that into
Got the other guy
a
coming
2
around.
down immediately without having to use a super.
Hang on.
This right here is an
already
excellent use of super.
There's one.
The reason I say that is because when he's pushing out this doorway here, we notice, I'll just pause up here a second. When he's pushing out this doorway here, we notice they've got an orb in here. His teammate goes down, they have an orb out there. These reses are what he's going to be playing his super for, essentially. He's not just playing for 1 kill anymore. When he goes out here, if he trades, he loses a revive opportunity. If he loses this engagement, then his opponent then has an opportunity to push back in and grab a revive. So he's losing 150 points, essentially, instead of just losing whatever this trade-off is. He's got a full super. He's playing Skirmish. You don't want to be holding on to your supers. That being said, there is 2 Stormcallers on the other team. Saving it for one of those might be an option, but I don't tend to like to recommend people hold on to their supers for the perfect opportunity. I think getting this kill, getting this revive is a great choice for it.
Hang on.
I'm already gone.
The other angle on this is that we did see him use a tether inside. We did see him use a Nova Bomb inside. The problem with this engagement here would be that if he was using this tether to generate orbs for one of the other 2, it might be more beneficial to save it, since neither of the 2 of them, because we can see his partner is kind of off in the other side there. But I'm still saying that this was a great play, good choice. Take the 1v1 with the super just to make sure you're not trading with him, and you get the revive, and you deny him a res as well.
There's one trailing me into cafe.
He gets...
Coming right behind
he doesn't get the revive, but that's because his teammate respawns.
Yes.
Got him.
And he kind of gets caught off guard by that guy coming in, but that's okay.
$1,300.
Right there, he respawns. Probably just wasn't paying attention to the fact that somebody was on his revive, about to take the orb. It's not a super competitive game right now. They're just playing pubs anyway, but in a more competitive setting, he would have made sure that he stayed for that revive, but I'm not too concerned about that right now. Once again, grenade lands a little short. Great opportunity for a void wall grenade. Spike grenade should have been going back further, although I don't think he could have got the spike grenade off at the wall at this point, but he does have, I believe, let me just check that again. He does have a smoke charged. I would have liked to have seen him throw his smoke grenade first in that engagement.
Stormcaller.
Oh shit. They got both heavies.
Yeah, just gotta make him blow it, I guess.
So that smoke grenade there as well. I think he was trying to cover in case his the blueberry didn't get whatever opponent they were fighting up there. I would have liked to have seen him push to support the engagement a little more. They did pick up heavy, so there was rockets there, so that would have been a bit of a risk that he could get both of them with rockets. But if he just picked up rockets, he's got 2 of them. He probably would have been dead from the rockets anyway, and this is kind of a wasted smoke at that point. And once again, those smokes, they do charge pretty quick because he's running a pretty high discipline build, or a strength build rather.
Alright, coming
so
down from cafe.
He will get his smoke back pretty quick, but I still like them to translate into a little more here, because right now, this engagement, a smoke would have been perfect, but he doesn't have it charged. So throwing a smoke around that corner when he sees the guy run up, he would have been able to pick one off easy and support his team.
Got me with the machine gun.
He does a good job of baiting the super here, playing back and just hitting him while he backpedals. Really well done. The blade dancers are pretty squishy. That's a pretty easy way to deal with them.
Oh, he's hurting. Get him, get him, get him. Yeah.
So he gets the call out that the opponent is in there, and that he's hurt, and he should be pushing. But he doesn't push through this door. There is a grenade on the door, but I would have liked to have seen him take his hand cannon and come to this door, at least push up on it, add a little pressure, to see if he can seal that kill. I don't know how low he was or whether or not that was a great call out, but that reaction is something that you should probably be able to trust your team for. Unfortunately,
Yes.
I don't think it would have ended well for him anyway,
Got
because he
tired.
did get pinched from the
Shit.
side. I don't think there was much he could have done there. Maybe a shade step in that opportunity, just as a backpedal, but I think he was a close enough engagement he probably would have been chased and killed anyway. So, I do want to point out, though, that throughout this video I've been watching, and his primary gameplay has been super solid. He's been landing his shots and doing a really good job of that. This engagement here, we can notice when he looks down those stairs, he's got enemies behind him, an enemy in front of him. His teammate is down the stairs to the right and injured, and he's got his blueberry off to the left. This is the type of engagement where you're going to want to push through, take your teammate, support your teammate, and push through on the one. We can see that there's two enemies behind him, but instead he turns around and fights the guys behind him instead. Great smoke, and good kill. So that worked out for them, but since there was two enemies over here, I would have liked to have seen them push through for the other one instead. But it worked out for them well anyway, because I believe his teammate got the other guy anyway.
Bye-bye. One coming up from Alpha.
So now, here's another opportunity. There's a good, clean kill out there with the tether. There's an orb of light created. 2 orbs, actually. You can see the fire going back and forth. So his team is fighting with somebody in this caves. And he's kind of watching through the window, instead of being out there and supporting his team's fire. He also walks away from the revive. While his team is fighting out there, he sees someone on his radar. The fact that somebody's on his radar over here means that the guy that they were just fighting with out there is alone, or at the very least a 2v2 situation. So he should have gone back and helped out his teammate, although his teammate did go down and he would be alone over there. At least if he could have finished that guy off, he would have had 2 revives instead of being alone with a single kill here.
Pushed by 2.
So that is exactly what I'm talking about here, is he ended up getting pushed by 2 people, meaning that third person should have been alone. That could have been a nice 3v2 or 3v1, because they did get one down, and then the other one pushes in here, so then he ended up being alone instead.
Both down in tunnels.
Yep, one just popped up to Alpha. Is it or up into the cafe? It's 2 in cafe.
So they respawn, fresh start here. They know that the enemy is down in that tunnel, was last time they saw them, so they push straight there, which is great. Pushing themselves to find the engagement. That was kind of a blind grenade, but he did do a really good job of it. But once again, I saw him throw his grenade first. When you're using these spike grenades, generally you don't want to use them in the same way as wombos. And I don't know if he's maybe used to using the wombo combo here with a void wall grenade. That would have been a perfect opportunity for him, but when you're sending these grenades blind, a lot of times they'll end up on the floor like this. So you want to lead with your smoke grenade, see until you can get tags, and see if you can get better zone control with these, and make sure these land in for a kill. These are super powerful grenades and awesome for zone control, so are lightning grenades, and I think use of those need to be a little bit more tactical, and can be used for either zone control, or for kills, or for priming, or for finishing, which ends up being a kill anyway. So here, all of his radar is showing down that tunnel. The 2 on the left side of the tunnel, 1 on the right side of the tunnel. His teammate is starting to get ready to push down in the tunnel, and he's looking back to head this direction. I would have liked to have seen him help push this engagement a little bit more here. He does go for the flank, but he is leaving his team alone, and his team is already engaging.
Down it.
Proper flanking, you want to make sure you're doing the flank before your team engages anybody. If they've already engaged, it's too late to be running around to run a flank, especially on a long map like this. By the time you get into position, or even remotely close to where the enemy is, your team is probably going to be pushed in a 3v2, or a 3v1, depending on how many people actually went around to flank. which is
Charlie,
what happens here.
you're gonna come around behind him.
So he did end up getting the team caught off guard.
There you go.
If they had been paying more attention to
Nice.
the radar, they would have turned and had a 2v1 on him as well for an easy kill. But he does manage to get both of them because his primary game is really well, and I've noticed from this gameplay,
Part of my
his primary game,
program
he's
is Jack wants me to
outshooting
myself.
his opponents left and right.
playing.
So the gun skill is not an issue in this match. It's not something I'd pick on. This right here. He just got notified
So I can
his super is charged. You hear a Stormcaller pop. In the radar, everybody's looking in that direction. I would move into a position. He can also see there is a Nova Bomb. His teammate does have a Nova Bomb, but his teammate goes down right away. I'd be putting myself in a position to be shooting out this door with a tether to try and save my team. If I can't save them, at the very least be able to shut down the Stormcaller so he can't push to me, or so that I can get the kill and the 2 revives from it. Because generally when teams pop a Stormcaller like this and he doesn't have radar anywhere else, he's not being pinched for a flank or anything that he can see of at this point, chances are the rest of the team is behind that Stormcaller as well, and he might be able to get a triple. So this would be a perfect opportunity to pop his tether. So, second best option, because he's not going to pop his tether here. This Stormcaller is low health. You can primary him. The thing with the primary is that if he turns at you and starts shooting you, it's going to be very difficult to land those last few shots, which ends up being what happens here. He has full grenade, or full melee, and he has a full grenade. I would have liked to have seen him smoke this doorway, because this is the best route for the Stormcaller to do. If he smokes this doorway and shade steps backwards, he puts so much more distance between him and the Stormcaller that he's able to use his guns and primary at range where the Stormcaller can't reach him. This would also slow him down and do enough damage that he could easily take the Stormcaller out.
Oh, Stormcaller out there. He's almost down. Hit him. Hit him.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh well.
They're kind of creeping back up on us. Nice.
So that's a great opportunity. The score is pretty close, time's getting pretty close. He could have primaried that guy, but seeing as his teammate went down, this is a good opportunity to tether in this doorway anyway, to see if other people are pushing him as well, because he was a little bit late to this engagement. He can get a couple tethers, a couple kills, and firm up this score pretty quickly, especially considering it's a super kill. He can also produce orbs to polish off any supers that his team might require, because he doesn't really have callouts on that at all as to where they are at in their supers. And at the very least, he has an opportunity to grab this revive, but I don't think that happens because I can see here that somebody spawned up before he was able to get to that res. So he's got the rest of the team there. They didn't push into a tether. He smokes off this wall, blocks them while he's got time for his team to get caught up with reinforcements. His teammate, I don't think there's much he could have done here. Teammate just Allah Akbar into the opponent, and they get an easy pick. At this point, he got melted pretty quick when he walked around that corner. I personally wouldn't be poking that corner from the same angle because he's going to get team fired before he has even opportunity to hit a couple shots. His best option would be to back up here and try and reroute back to his team in order to just make sure he stays safe and plays his life. There's only a 200-point difference in this game right now. Him playing his life is probably his best option because there's also only 3 minutes left in the game. So they want to make sure they're getting easy picks to finish up the score so that they don't get passed. But he does walk around the corner and dies before he's able to get much off, because he does also walk around the corner. If in this engagement you had to do anything and had to engage it or were going to engage it or felt confident with that, I would have wanted to see him slide around these corners. Not walk around the corner, making himself an easy target for his head level when people were shooting back at him.
I just need 2 more.
So he's pushing back towards the fight. He just had 2 X's down here, 2 opponents, and they only got 1 kill with his Nova Bomb. That means there's probably 2 opponents still in here. unless the team didn't regroup. But at this point, they've lost a couple lives here, and I would think it to be rare that the team didn't regroup itself. Even if they got 2 down, he just spawned. Even if the opponent did lose 2 people, he just spawned back out in the field, meaning they would be spawning in these caves. At which point he's running directly to where their team's going to be spawning, having his team spawn behind him. So essentially, right now, with the score 200 points apart, and him only needing 30 points to go, all he needs is a revive. They would need to get a couple kills. So if they can, a kill or a revive. So I do see him pushing for the revive here, but that's not a safe one, and that's risking them tying up the score pretty close if he runs in there. I would not be pushing this 1v3. And he gets pushed by a Stormcaller.
Got him.
So it was lucky that they basically almost firmed it up with a tie there because he had a Stormcaller. Fortunately, his teammate did have a tether. He was able to make the call that there was a Stormcaller, and they were able to win the game.
Good stuff.
So all in all, from this match, my biggest input, well, actually a couple of things. One of the things for sure would be I'd like to see more callouts. His teammate was making quite a few callouts for where things were, and I know you're playing pubs and you're playing with a blueberry, so you can't communicate with your entire team, but at least be communicating, and even I'd say over communicating with the teammate you do have in order to make sure that you also know where your blueberry's at. Being able to over communicate amongst yourselves will also compensate for the lack of communication that their teammate would have had. I would have also liked to see them stick together as a team with the teammate that they could not communicate with. He did seem like a bit of a reckless playstyle, but that reckless playstyle could have been converted into more of an aggressive play on the part of these two. There was quite a few times that there was hesitation. I'd like to see them push a little more aggressively as a team and make those engagements happen a little quicker so that the opponent has a little less time to react. The other thing I would say is sliding or jumping or maneuvering yourself through doorways, shade step, anything like that to throw off the way that you're pushing through doorways. Too many doorways were walked through at head level, and they didn't turn out poorly, but I think playing against a more competitive team, they would have fared quite a bit worse in those engagements with camping shotguns around corners, people hard scoping doorways, and things like that. So I think that would be one thing for sure I'd like to see him work on. And the third thing would be either one of 2 options is grenade choice. The way he was throwing those grenades using void walls would have been a better option. In these close maps, void walls work really well, but I do really like the use of spike grenades, and the engagements he tried to use the spike grenades in were great, so I would say if he was going to be sticking with the spike grenades, I'd be using them more frequently and trying to practice with those to make sure that you're landing them on walls. Spike grenades, when you land them on the floor or on the ceiling, which doesn't happen as often, can do damage, but it has a very small radius of what it's able to do. Whereas when you land them on a wall, you can block off entire sections of the room, and it is incredible the distance that those things can kill at, and the speed in which they kill. So they can actually be a very powerful grenade when used off of walls. But I don't think in that match I saw any of them land on the walls, so definitely learning to aim those, making sure you're throwing them a bit higher so that they go, because when they do fall and arc, then they'll be landing where they need to be landing. So anyway, that's all I have to say on this video, and I hope to catch you guys all around for the next video. If you like this, please feel free to subscribe to my channel, and you'll be able to see more gameplay videos like this, and other content as well. And I hope to catch you guys all around next time.